morning, everyone who has joined us today. My name is Patience Nyange. I'm very happy to be part of this group today and also to talk about our Chevening experience. Ideally, what we're going to discuss today will be your experience on how we made our applications, because the applications are open and will be closing on the 3rd of November. So we thought it would be nice for you. Some of you have already written your essays already. All you want to do is the confirmation that you're on the right track. So that's exactly what we're going to discuss. A number of us are here from discussing different questions. There are 4 questions ideally that Chevening asks. So we're going to divide ourselves and then we ask those questions. But in the meantime, I will do a small presentation to just show you what this is all about. So just give me a second as I try and do this. I want to believe that, do I have the rights to share my screen? Yes, I do. Okay, cool. Okay, so again, I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Patience Nyange. I call myself a journalist, depending who I'm talking to. I call myself a PR professional, depending who I'm talking to. So I'm very comfortable in those 2 positions. I'm happy to be a journalist when need be. I'm happy to be a PR professional when need be. So as I said, Chevening applications are open and now open. They will be open between now all the way to the 3rd of November. All you need to do is to start writing your essays, listen to the questions that you're going to discuss, and then let us know how well can you craft those questions. And I want to believe at the end of the session then, Stella Neritu, Cynthia Kimola, and Jen Gitao, who are here with us, will be happy to carry you through the session, or rather the essay writing, and maybe to just help you see whether you've crafted your essays in the right manner, or do you need to review them, do you need to change them, do you need to make some amendments? That's exactly what we will be discussing today. So for those who do not know yet what Chevening is all about, this is what we're going to discuss today. So Chevening Scholarships, as we said, UK government's global scholarship program funded by the Foreign and Commonwealth Office, which we call as FCO, and partner organizations. There are a number of organizations that work together with FCO, so they fund this. And I remember writing on my blog post this week and said, within your 1 year in the UK, the UK government, or rather the Foreign Commonwealth Office, spends about 6.5 million Kenyan shillings. So the question is, how long will it take you as an individual to save that amount of money for you to get your education in the UK? So based on that, you'll want to take a shortcut, which is probably apply for Chevening Scholarship, which caters for you a flight ticket to and from the UK, caters for your stipend while you're within the UK, caters for your tuition fee while you're within the UK, and of course, a number of events that probably you will be able to attend, and the networking opportunities that you get courtesy of this. The scholarships are awarded to outstanding scholars with leadership potential. So you really have to have thought of yourself as a leader, or plan to be a leader in future. So a number of things that you might want to consider are you a student with demonstrable potential to become a future leader? Are you a decision maker in your own capacity? Are you an opinion maker in your own capacity? So think about all the things that you think define you as a person. And then if you tick all those boxes, you want to say, okay, I'm going to apply for Chevening Scholarship. So remember, it's not for everyone, but at least for students who for sure know that they have a future as leaders in their countries. Awards are typically for 1-year master's degree at any of the top universities across the UK. You have an advantage to choose your own university. And so I know when we discuss this, it will be surprising that Jen Gitao, Stella, and I love Cardiff, or all of us have gone through Cardiff. And then, of course, Cynthia Kimola is going to tell us about her university, which is a different university altogether. But I think Cardiff, of course, with 50 years plus experience in media, policy, and of course, communication, becomes one of the best choices. And a number of people, Jen Gitao will probably be mentioning that they have been in Cardiff before. We will also hear maybe, I can't remember all of them, but I know there are quite a number of Kenyans who've gone through Cardiff. So maybe Jen might be having a stock of who all the members are. And again, it's important for me to mention at this particular moment that Jen Gitao is actually the chairperson of the Alumni Chapter of Chevening Scholars in Kenya. So most of the time when someone, you or I, are applying for this scholarship, a number of things go through your mind. One of the things you want, one of the worries that you have all the time is, will I make it? Do I deserve it? What if I fail? And so all these things cloud your mind and you're like, okay, is this for me? How about, and you know, they will tell you from their own experience, the persons who will be speaking today, that this is almost a 1-year torturous experience. From the time you submit your application to the time you wait for the results and to the time you make your journey to the UK and then start your journey in the UK as well. Okay, so all these things, when you think about them, really, it's going to be such a tough moment for anyone. But worry not. If you fail, you fail. and fail spectacularly, and then you try again. Last 2 weeks ago, I wrote a blog post concerning a lady called Light Juma, and Light Juma said her experience she's been trying since 2012. So you can only call that resilience of another level. So it has to be, I mean, you don't have to give up when you fail for the first time or the second time and the third and the fourth. As long as your eyes are geared to this prize, keep trying. So who is Chevening looking for? Chevening is looking for people with some kind of traits here, and I'm going to try and read them through. If you can see them, maybe you'll be able to understand what kind of traits they're looking for. Do you define yourself as an ambitious person? Are you adventurous? Are you bold? Do you call yourself courageous? Are you academic? Are you interested in studying? Because it's going to be 1 year of really studying. You know, are you global? Are you determined? Are you focused? Are you ready for this? Are you persistent? Are you studious? Are you open-minded? Are you philanthropic? Are you creative? Are you inclusive? Are you supportive of your dreams, of other people's dreams? Are you going to help each other to be in the same network with you? Are you confident? Are you able? Are you respectful? Are you considerate? Are you thoughtful? Are you international? Are you educated? Are you welcoming? Are you honest? Are you passionate about the things that you do? Are you good at giving? Are you hardworking? Are you understanding? Are you helpful? Are you human? Are you disciplined? Are you dynamic? Are you change? I mean, all these things are some of the things that if the moment you tick, then you know for sure this scholarship is for you. This is one of the things that they said when we went for the orientation in London. It was a big billboard that was put there and said, these are the traits that we look for in your writing. We're looking for this kind of people as Chevening scholars. So if you can tick the majority of this, then you know for sure you could be the next Chevening scholar. Okay, so we just ended our session, or rather our year in the UK, and then I tried to look at some of the how the experience has been for some of the scholars for the year 2020, for the year 2019, 2020, and then I picked 2 or 3 quotations here, and one saying, this is one of the students from the University of Warwick. I used to complain about the UK's unpredictable weather, but now I think about it, it's actually a good thing. You see, even on a cloudy or rainy day, there's always a chance for the sun to come up. What a hopeful way to live life. So if you've been in Cardiff, you know it rains most of the time. Stella Derito, brace yourself. Please come with an umbrella. There will be jackets for you here. So don't be worried about that. But you need sweaters and you need to think of good boots. That it rains and unpredictable, but of course you have to ensure that you have your weather app. You'll be able to hack this. But the whole idea is how you look at the entire experience. What does it make you feel like? So this guy, I looked at this and then I was like, this is a very wonderful way of looking at it. That even on a cloudy or rainy day, there's always a chance for the sun to come up, because it comes up even without knowing. But that's the whole thing. Sometimes life will be tough, but then when you look at it, wow, then there's sunlight on the side. Okay. And then Simchimina said, have you ever heard that we average of 5 people we spend most time with? If you want to change yourselves, change your environment. Moving to the UK and belonging to the fantastic Chevening community helped me discover my true self and advance towards my goals. And that's the thing. You become a member of a community that you didn't know. And I put a photo here and I tried to explain. These are some of my good friends now. People that I didn't know before September 2019, but now are really my friends. On the left, I will say this is Tasio from Mozambique, and then there's Seppo from Botswana. Then there's, Alejandro from Brazil, and then there's Patience there. Then there's Mohammed from Yemen, and then there's also another one from Brazil. And then there's, what is his name again, Mohammed. And then there's Anna Selak from Moldova. And then there's Ronald, my housemate from Uganda. And then I forget that guy's name. He has a bit tougher name. But the point is, within a short period of time, within 1 year, because you all know each other as Cheveners, you're looking at each other coming from a common background, and you know what experience you have been through. You create a network that becomes really a network, and it becomes a bond, and this becomes your friend for the rest of at least for that 1 year. And then past then, you have to work hard to keep the networks as well. So that's exactly what this guy said. You're moving to a different community altogether that you did not have before. And of course, these ones, in their own way, all of them come with a different understanding and personalities, and they help you gain or discover your true self and advance towards your own goals. So now we become fantastic friends. We check on each other, we call each other, and we have good memories within the last 1 year. And then there's also this one again. I learned that what makes our journey special is the people we met. Some people cross the way very briefly, others become close friends. Some are more pleasing, others are more challenging. All of them teach us a lesson. We just have to be open to learning from each other. For those, of course, you'll be sharing houses maybe, or classes as well. Some people will be a bit not pleasing at all, or maybe you'll be the person who is not pleasing at all to every other person. But the thing is, you learn to tolerate each other and to live harmoniously within that 1 year. So this is really the whole experience. I am a student among 1,800 Cheveners for the year 2019, 2020. So you can imagine it's a huge network. You don't get to to know everyone maybe by their names, but at least some of the groups that we formed, including the WhatsApp groups, it only means that we connect, and connection doesn't really mean networking. It has to be physical networking, but we've done a lot of networking online as well. Okay, and then finally, this is also one that I thought was really nice for us to share with you. In my Chevening year, I understood as humans, our resilience and adaptability get tested many times. No matter where we are, as aspiring leaders, our abilities to make the best of what we have is what builds our character and helps us become better versions of ourselves. So this 1 year is going to be really a 1 year of defining yourself afresh, of understanding yourself afresh, and also maybe just thinking through what the year holds for you. Okay, so normally there are 4 essay questions. So there'll be a question on leadership and influence that Jen Gitau is going to introduce herself and then take us through that question. And then there's also be another question on why do you want to study in the UK? Cynthia Kimola is a student for the year 2019, or rather former alumni now. 2018, 2019 is going to take us through that question. And then I will come back and talk about the networking question, or rather, I think it's going to be leadership, networking, and then why studying the UK. And finally, Stella Nerichu will also take us through the question, future career plans. These questions feed into each other. So kindly listen through carefully from the first one that is going to be as Jen handles the leadership and influence question, and then of course see how we build the same. I know we're all going to have our unique stories, how we told our stories, and we have tried to say we will probably read our essays as we wrote them during that time, which probably then you will probably see what kind of examples we used and how maybe they made sense to the Chevening Secretariat. So I'd like to end my presentation at this point and invite Jen Gitau to take over. So I stop sharing my screen at this point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Patience, for that very warm introduction and taking us through what you have done. Thank you. My name is Jane Gitau, and I think I'm perhaps the oldest in all ways among the presenters today. I studied in Cardiff, as Patience pointed out. I started the same course, journalism. At that point, it was called Journalism Studies, and that was in 1996-97. I will want to start sharing my screen now so that I can speak to the 4 slide points that I have. They're not as beautiful as those ones that Patience has presented. It's much more tech-savvy than I am. Let's see. Share. Okay, is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I want to speak fast. Sorry?
Just click on the slideshow so that you have it.
Oh, you're seeing everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And then from beginning, yeah.
From beginning.
Yeah.
Okay. Patience did mention something called the Chevening Alumni Network, and I want to begin by talking about this. When I went to Chevening in 96, quite a number of people had gone. I think I was probably the 5th or 6th cohort. We had a few people that had gone before me, those who remember journalist Gwenda Opanga. He still writes. He had gone ahead of me. We had John Gashie. Quite a number of people had gone before me. And so for me, I was looking up to them. And even in going to Cardiff, it was more like, oh, this is the place where all the journalists are going. So I wanted to follow in the footsteps of people that I thought were really great in my profession. And it was a blessing that going there, I studied both public relations and journalism. So again, like Patience, I say I'm a journalist or I'm a public relations person, depending on who I am talking to. But I think I've spent a lot more time now in public relations. So I am more of a public relations person in the way that I work and in the way that I describe myself. Coming back and seeing some of the challenges that I had experienced, we always wanted to form a network. We made an alumni network. We made a first attempt in 2000, actually 98, 99, 2000. It didn't quite work. It worked for a few years and then died off. And then in 2014, we made another attempt because we said, we are so few. At that point, we were really few because the High Commission used to send about 10 people, sometimes 9, depending on the funds. And I think because Patience has mentioned the funds involved, you can see the kind of investment that the British government does put into this. So we normally were about 10, and so we were so scattered. It was really hard to come back and find people that thought the way that you did, because it's a whole culture change. When you go out there, you're immersed in a different kind of culture. There are no hooting matatus and whatever. I was traumatized that there was so much law and order on the streets. And I was like, oh goodness, how do people just manage here? Of course, you do get traumatized by other things. When you're going at this season, the days are getting shorter. So you leave class at 3 o'clock and it's dark outside and it looks like Kenya looks at 8 o'clock and you're thinking, where am I? So we have formed an alumni association now. We are about 200 of us on making regular contributions on a WhatsApp group. The total number of alumni so far is just over 500. Before Patience and team came back because they've just completed their studies, we were at 507. So I think we're getting to somewhere about 520 or so now as alumni. And it is here that we exchange thoughts and we exchange discussions. And currently we are looking at leadership in terms of mentoring students with disabilities. So, and I'm sharing this so that you know that in terms of leadership, we are constantly challenged to think beyond ourselves and ask, what are we doing? So as a network, we are reaching out, and as a network, we feel we have the ability and the responsibility to share with other members of our society. And really also to remain accountable both to ourselves and to our government and to the British government. You know, it comes as accountability on very many levels because the British government does this as part of their relationship building with Kenya. And therefore, we are expected to be useful members of the Kenyan society. And therefore, we have to challenge ourselves and feel accountable to ourselves and to those who have entrusted us to do something. And so, Patience, we're welcoming you formally and officially to the Alumni Network. Alumni is only after the event. So, Stella, we will welcome you very soon as you come back.
Thank you so much.
Welcome, and thank you. So, going to the S's now. Oh no, before we get to the S's, proof that we actually did have the launch of an alumni association. And this is the former ambassador, Nick, when he launched the Alumni Association in 2017. And you can see us looking all great and pretty there. And we have a wonderful cake there to celebrate the birth of the Alumni Association. So yes, we do exist and we do have events and we did have a formal launch. I want to begin by sharing 3 quotes on leadership. The first quote is by John Quincy Adams, the 6th President of the United States. He lived he was in power from 25 to 29, that is just 4 years. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. In other words, we're being asked to inspire others to dream, to learn, and to become bigger than who they are. So there goes your leadership. It is influence. I'm sure we all know Steve Jobs. He died just the other day. He died in our lifetime, all of us actually, because he died in 2011. Co-founder of Apple. And he said, innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. In other words, a leader is innovative. You provide solutions where there are challenges, and you don't always have to go on the beaten path. If you go on the beaten path where we have been before, then you're a follower. So what new things are you bringing in? And finally, I want to share the story or the quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson, an American philosopher, wrote many essays, lived between 1803 and 82. Do not follow where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. I will read that again. Do not follow where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail. For those of us who are writers, we quote Ralph Waldo Emerson a lot. He's easily one of my best writers. And I just really love what he says about leadership. Leave a trail. So the leader is not that person who panics and gets scared when things don't seem to be the way that they should be. The leader is the person who says, I'm big enough to handle this. Remember Patience saying, bold, are you bold? That's what a leader is. The Chevening Scholarship is the only scholarship that offers both academic and leadership challenges. To be honest, I haven't come across another that is as intense and with so much hope and expectation as the Chevening Scholarship. Other scholarships will give you a master's degree, a bachelor's degree, and leave it at that. With a Chevening, you're expected to both be a leader and be an academic giant. And so you're going to read, but you must allow yourself to be exposed beyond the classroom. And one of the questions that I had to answer back in 1996 is to show that I had the ability to go beyond the classroom, but also to say, what are you going to do when you come back to Kenya? By the way, you do not take the Chevening and plan to run away. We ensure that you come back and you come to serve the country. And you almost give a line of what you're going to do. When I come back after this degree, this or this exposure, this is what I plan to do. You must give a clear line of thought of who you are as a leader and what you plan to do after that exposure. Most other scholarships I have seen go one way or the other. This one is different. They either do train leaders or train scholars. This one expects you to be both. But who is a leader? A problem solver, a role model, a mentor, a motivator. Remember those quotes? Each of them expects you to go off the beaten path and set the road for others. You need to demonstrate that you have one or more of these qualities when you're applying for this scholarship. You need to show that you are not just going there because you want your master's degree. By the way, it's only limited to a master's degree. So you want to demonstrate that you have more than just the interest in getting an academic degree. You have the interest and the ability to be completely immersed in your society and do things that are useful. So we're saying identify your skills and demonstrate your leadership ability. What have you done in your village, in your family, in your school? Some people begin noticing their leadership abilities in their churches and other religious institutions. That shows you have the ability to provide solutions, to be emulated by others, to motivate others. What shows that you're a good leader? And you're saying you need to show it. You don't tell it. So you say, I am a leader because I started the choir in my church, or I started the writers club in my village, or I started whatever in my primary school or my high school. You have got to show something that you have previously done that shows that you're a leader. So just to give you a highlight of some of the 500 people that have gone through this, I tried to pick on some names that are known. Obviously, I have a lot of journalists because that's my area, so I think I'm biased in that. But current public figures, CS Betty Maina, she's quite in the public eye because of trade. CS Amina, we are all lobbying for her to get a particular job. So again, she's somebody who is quite in the public eye. Justice Joki Ndongo. All those are people who have gone through Chevening. Journalists in my time, Kwenda Opanga still writes, John Gashie, Lucy Oriang, Benjamin Mwindi, Alex Chamwada, Asha Mwilu, Cynthia Kimola will be talking to us shortly, Harry Misiko, some lawyers that I know, Catherine Geshoke, who's also the treasurer of the Alumni Association, and we have many, many other people. Third Way Alliance, Ekuro Okot is also one of us, Third Way Alliance president is also one of us. So we have quite a number of people, and these are just the prominent ones. We have others not so prominent like myself. And, we have quite a number of people that have gone through this, and they each have their story. And so I want to say that it is doable. But you have to challenge yourself. It's the sort of thing where you have to challenge yourself and to say, yes, I want to do this for my community and I want to do it for myself. So that is who I am. I'm also the immediate past president of the Public Relations Society of Kenya. And by the way, some of the things I do are things that I'd never have imagined I'd do before I got this exposure and this challenge. I don't think I'd ever have stood for elective leadership anywhere, but here I am, and I think I've served in quite a number of boards because I kept thinking, I owe it to myself, I owe it to Chevening. And quite honestly, a school or studying in the UK is something that I'd never have afforded left on my own, because I'd always be thinking, by the time I make that money, it was £7,000 when I was going, and 7,000 was like the whole world. It's still the whole world today. So, yeah. And just one more slide about the Alumni Association. Just how we began back in 2014, and we needed to really consult each other and find each other, and we found social media was the thing that really brought us together. So I want to say that we became innovative because of social media, and perhaps that is why we are still together. As we exist now, we have a constitution, we have a profile on LinkedIn, we have Facebook, we have email. And what do we intend to do? We just want to become an authoritative opinion shaper in Kenya. And that is what all Cheveners are expected to be. Our strength is that as Chevening scholars, we are a rainbow across all professions. We have legal people, we have medical people, we have media, we have architects, we have people in development, we have corporates, we have NGOs. In other words, Chevening does not discriminate. Chevening says, who are you and what can you do, regardless of your area of study? So we want to encourage you, wherever you are, whoever you are, do not imagine because you are not a journalist, and I have listed so many journalists, therefore you don't qualify. No, a lot of people qualify. The pictures you're seeing now are pictures of some events we have had as alumni. So when you come back, you're not going to be bored. Patience, you can see we discuss democracy and the role of media.
I see
to secure peace.
Yeah.
Right? Cynthia, you can see there are places for you to start getting involved.
Yeah,
Stella, you better be coming back very soon. You study and come back. And so, yeah, that is what we do. I think I will stop there and say thank you to all of us and hand over to the next person. I'll stop sharing my screen at this point and say thank you, thank you, thank you, and wait for any questions and clarifications if there'll be.
Wow. Thank you, Jen Gitao. That was a beautiful presentation. I wonder why you started by making a disclaimer. I think it went very well.
Thank you.
Very grateful. Once you're done sharing your screen, then I can go next, I think, with the
Yes,
networking.
I'm done.
You're still sharing though?
I am seeing.
Oh, yeah. Cynthia Kimola, do you want to go next or should I go next?
I can do it. I was just going according to what you had shared in your introduction.
Yeah, I had done that because of the years that how they were flowing, but it's fine. Initially, though, we had discussed a different order,
go
but it's
ahead
fine.
Then.
Should I go ahead?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think the first question ties to the second question. So thank you so much, Jan Gitao. A few things that I picked from you is Chevening is looking for people who will love to be authoritative opinion shapers in their countries. So at this particular time, we're discussing about Kenya. I'm glad to join that cohort of people who want to be authoritative opinion shapers in Kenya. And then the other thing also you mentioned is the fact that you're exposed to a variety of people or rather different discourses altogether. And the good example I would like to give about this is just the people that we spend time with or my housemates here. So there was me doing PR, and then of course there was a data scientist in this house, Sydney, and then we also had a dermatologist, Dr. Pamela Njuguna, and then also we had Ronald Okello who was doing computer science. So ideally within that, just even the sharing of the space that we are in, we all have different expertise and different fields altogether, and we help each other. So anytime my computer had problems, then I knew I was going to run to Ronald. I have a problem here. And sometimes I felt like he was like, hey, Patience, you're always asking about everything. I'm like, well, this is not my area of study, you know? So, and anytime they had questions to do with PR, I was very happy to say, yes, this one I can help you. I have an idea how to do this. So anyway, the point is you will be exposed to a variety of different expertise and different professionals who will probably help you within your journey from now going forward. So I'd like to share my screen again now at this point. Let me go back to where we were initially, and then okay. So my question is going to be on the network, so which is always the second question after the first leadership question. So before I discuss exactly, I'm going to share with you how I wrote my experience is going to be exactly how I wrote my essay. It might have not been the very best essay. I really don't know which one they pick, whether it was my first question or the second or the third. The whole idea is you'll have 4 questions, and each of the questions then, how does it marry with the other question that you answered? So when you think about your network, this is exactly how I did how I went through crafting my essay. I thought about who is in my network. What are my network circles? So I made a list of all my network circles. And then I listed them in order of priority, because at the end of doing the list, I realized I had almost 10, 15 groups that I'm like, you know, I'm a member of this group, I'm a member of this group, I'm a member of this group. And then I said, in relation to my course, International Public Relations and Global Communication Management, which network feels the best for me or which becomes a priority for me? And then pick those that make sense to you in relation to the Chevening requirements and your narrative. So ideally, once you have read all the 4 questions, as we say, there are 4 questions: your leadership experience, your networking experience, why do you want to study in the UK, and finally, what is your career plan? As already John Gitao has said, they're looking for people who will love to come back to their countries and make an impact to become authoritative opinion shapers in their own countries. So the moment I did this, I realized, okay, so I have a number of things that I would like to bring on board. So let me see which one makes maybe the best narrative for me. And so I wonder whether, can you see this? Can you see my Word document now?
No.
I'm sharing a different, can you see the Word document?
No, we are seeing the PowerPoint.
Okay, so let me try and see. I shoot from the PowerPoint. Let me just stop sharing this one. so that then I can go to, there we go. Can you see it now? Should I maybe expand it? Let me see if I can do that so it becomes bigger. Okay, so maybe that's too big. But this is how they ask the the networking questions, and says Chevening is looking for individuals with strong professional relationship building skills who will engage with the Chevening community and influence and lead others in their chosen profession. Please explain how you build and maintain relationships in a professional capacity using clear examples of how you currently do this, and outline how you hope to use these skills in the future. The minimum count is always 100 words, and then of course a maximum of 500 words. So ideally, this is what I thought maybe I needed to. I thought about my journey through my profession. So I said I started as a journalist, and then slowly moved into PR, and therefore then I thought through my networks and said I'm going to build my story through those networks. And this is my story. I'll probably explain as I read through my essay, my 500 words essay. So I started by saying I'm a journalist by training. One of the key traits required of us as journalists is networking, which automatically creates an avenue for building relationships with our sources, audiences, clients, and stakeholders. I believe I have very strong networking skills. So there, I'm actually explaining myself to know that, and not without a shadow of doubt, that I know for sure. I build my networks, I stay in touch, I'm in the spaces where my networks are, I connect with my sources. So I'm putting an affirmation that I know that you really want people who can build networks and can explain how these networks will help them in the future. So I start by making a statement there that I believe I have very strong networking skills. And then I think about networking skills are not just person to person. They can as well be virtually, or they can as well be online. Then I think of how have I built relationships online. So I do that by writing. I write quite often. I write on my blog posts. I write on my social media platforms. And my posting is not just, I write. I mean, of course, I have different social media platforms that I am very active in. My Facebook, my Twitter, and my LinkedIn. I am such a inactive person on Instagram. But the whole idea is you can decide to be in all the platforms. If you have time, you can decide to be in in key specific ones where you can engage. But because I know I have grown my networks through these three social media platforms, then I try to use those ones as my key. And then I also have a blog post. So I said, I'm an enthusiastic writer. I write a lot on my social media pages, and I also have an existing blog, which then I put the link to my blog there, and write www.patienceyange.wordpress.com. That time I was still a WordPress. I've just lifted this as a house sent it, so things have changed now. I have my own domain. So I write down my thoughts on various issues in the country and encourage feedback from my readers. And you see on my blog, I've always said any comment that gets there gets appreciated, or rather I write back and say thank you for getting in touch with me. If there's a question, I respond to my question, because for me, I don't treat the people who comment on my pages just as people or any other person. I treat them as my network. So I try to be very careful that anyone who gets time, because you can imagine how much you have online. There's so many things that you can do online, but when someone sits down and reads your blog post, or someone sits down and engages with you in a conversation, I always try and appreciate everyone and write back to them. So I say, these are my pages where I try and write on various issues within the country and maybe encourage feedback from readers. And then, of course, I explain just because I knew they might want to click on that link. So I clearly explained myself and said, though I haven't been very active on my blog the last few years, which of course I knew I had explanations. When I worked for BBC, they wouldn't let me blog. When I worked for the government of Kenya, they wouldn't let me blog. So it became idle for some way. So I say, though I haven't been very active with my blog the last few years, I hope to revive it and write about my entire experience as a Chevening scholar and about my life in the United Kingdom. And this is exactly what I have done consistently for the last 1 year. Every Monday, I'm sure for those who read, you've probably read my blog post. It's something that I promised, and I hope that I will keep my word, because I wrote it here. And I'm very keen when I write something and I have written and people have read about this, then I want to be keen on what I promised, because this for me is really about who I am as a person. So I thought I would say that, and because I said it, and I will keep exactly that. So I said I hope to revive it and write about my entire experience as a Chevening scholar and about my year in the United Kingdom. During my exchange program in Norway, which was in 2010, 2011, I blogged about my entire experience that left me connected to people around the world. Just a second. There we go. I still maintain my contacts to date, and many of these followers still engage with me on various online conversations. So, and then I also wrote about, so that was my networking experience virtually or online. Okay. And then I thought about who are my other networks when it comes to my profession in media and PR. So I wrote about this. I said I'm a co-founder and member of two influential online platforms, which is the Scribes 254 and the Network of Media and PR Women, each with over 250 members. I believe without a shadow of doubt that these two are great networking platforms. It's our hope that one day that these two platforms will be registered and hopefully become recognized entities in Kenya and beyond. The Network for Media and PR Women, the Kenyan chapter, is spearheading the process of setting up similar entities in Tanzania and Uganda. This platform, though online, is a safe space for women in media and PR and public relations field. We share opportunities, contacts, information sources, as well as hold professional discourse around issues that pertain to PR and communications and media in East Africa. So again, these are existing platforms. And I know for sure if I was going to think about how many people again I can touch, this is how I was looking about numbers. I was thinking with my blog that has about 12,000 followers, and then I have Scribes 254 that has about 256 members, and then I have Network that has about 250 members. I'm thinking if I was going to be marking you from the other side, as the secretariat, maybe at the Chevening or wherever it is that I know that maybe they have a recruiting firm that really does the recruitment, what they're looking at is how big is your network? So it's looking at how many numbers am I playing around with, okay? And then I added the fact that I'm a member of the Association of Media Women in Kenya, www.amic.org, and then I put a link there because these are all existing platforms which you can easily click and see whether it is indeed that they exist. Yet another platform that seeks to use the media to promote an informed and gender-responsive society in Kenya and the wider Africa. I've been an active member for the last 10 years now and a great mentor to new members joining the association. I've also had the privilege of serving in the capacity of a board member between the year 2013 and 2015. This too, for me, is a great networking avenue. And then I also thought I'm coming to do public relations course. Then it's also maybe important for me to actually mention that I'm a member of the Public Relations Society of Kenya. So I put there, I'm also a member of the Public Relations Society of Kenya, and put the link there, whose objective is to advance excellence in public relations and communication management in Kenya, and to ensure that the practice continues to thrive within the ethical framework defined by the profession. Again, this is a platform that gives me a chance to engage with like-minded professionals, and through our engagement, set an agenda for the future of the public relations in Kenya. So think about my numbers again. We start from out there. We start with the Scribes 250. We go to Network, another 250. I come to Association of Media Women, another 250. I come to PRSK, another. I mean, I'm just saying the numbers that are within the active engagements, which is, for example, the WhatsApp. But you know, Public Relations Society has over 5,000 members, and so its AMIC has over 250 members. Okay, so then I write about this one again. Finally, I'm a board member and mentor with Emerging Leaders Foundation, and I put the link there where I volunteer my time and service in raising the next generation of African leaders. During this year's graduation held in October that saw 40 young leaders graduate, the foundation awarded me the trophy for my service and commitment. This is my third year serving as a mentor. And so I finished this. I've said, if I was to really count how big is my network, then I would think I would probably have influence within my Chevening network over 10,000 maybe, if I would say, to the very least. So the thing is, look at your networks as your net worth. How big is your network? Where do you engage most? And that's why I keep telling people on these platforms, don't take them, heavy too. Just because you're in WhatsApp and you want to be a librarian, these are things you can actually use in your writing your essays when you ask the questions such as networks. So I finally finished by saying, I strongly believe that through these platforms, I have an opportunity to use my networking skills to champion for agendas that will help in achieving the objectives of the Chevening Scholarship. So ideally, there's something that I promised that I will use my networking, my blogging as a networking chance for me to be able to engage with the other Cheveners or with the community or people, everyone, to tell them about my experience as a Chevener. I have done exactly that. Have I engaged in all these networks that I have talked about? Yes. Every Monday, I've been on Scribes, I've been on the network, I post my experience there, I share my experience. Association of Media Women, I do exactly that. The PRSK, everyone knows that every Monday they're waiting, and I know sometimes now it's become very interesting. If I don't post a blog post by midday, then I have inboxes of people asking me from any of these groups, Patience, are you alive? Are you okay? So I know people are reading, and I have done exactly what I had promised. So ideally, what I'm trying to say for networking, Own your story. Let your story be a story that you can be able to explain and not someone else has picked, because it's easier for you to pick examples from someone else. But the question is, can you use these examples to tell your story? So it has to be your own story. Start, as I said, by putting all your networks in order and then try and see which ones speak the best for me, which ones serve as a priority. Number 2, aim for higher impact by making your narrative small, tightly focused, and having larger, vague, and inconsistent narrative. You see, in any of my paragraphs that I have here, I start with my first online blogging, which I explain about that, and then I come the next paragraph. I talk about these 2 networks, the scribes and then the network, and then the second one I come and talk about Association of Media Women in Kenya, and the third I talk about the Public Relations Society, and then I talk about the Emerging Leaders Foundation, and then I close. So you see, in each of the paragraph, I have one idea that I've explained that I think will probably add into my narrative as how I can build my networks, how I maintain my networks, and how I hope that these networks will be of benefit to me coming back. Now I have a chance to be able to meet as we're trying to do now. This is, again, we are meeting courtesy of the group, the Network for Media and PR Women. And this is exactly what we're trying to do now, to share our ideas and to help the people who want to join next and everyone else who is interested. So ideally, make your story short. I say, keep it short and simple. Okay, but at least have in every paragraph say something that adds to the whole idea of how do you do your, how well is your network, and how do you keep connected to your networks. Keep it simple. Do great things in a simple way. Write as many times as you can. Give it a second and a third and a fourth eye. Even now, as I read this, I realize there are typos, but I said I will bring it as it was, because this is exactly what I submitted. I will have written it differently today when I have, after my experience now, because now I have a bigger network, or I have a different understanding of probably how I will do it differently, but I will probably change my English, maybe. But the whole concept will still remain the same. I will go through highlighting all my networks and seeing, based on the course that I'm applying for, which one fits the bill. Okay, so that is exactly, in a nutshell, that's what I would like to share as far as this one is concerned. And then I think in my last slide, which is, just hold on, this is what I had said. Make a list of all your networking circles. I'm just going to do a recap on this. List them in order of priority. Pick those that make sense to you in relation to your Chevening requirements and your narrative, the story in your essay, and make sure that it counts. Okay? So feel free to get in touch with me. I know I have so many inboxes and, on my WhatsApp, on Twitter, on Facebook, people asking me to help them review their essays. I would love to do that maybe sometime from next week. But again, do the work, because I'm going to take you back to this and say, did you listen to I'm sure this is being recorded. So I will just keep saying, please listen to the recording that we did. Follow the instructions there. I'm not going to do editing of typos. I'm not going to do editing of grammar. So just ensure that your narrative is a narrative that sustains itself. As you follow this, Jen has already spoken about the leadership and how you want to craft your story. I will do this. And next, Cynthia Kumola comes on board to answer the question, why study in the UK? Please listen careful and ensure that your essays meet the criteria as to how we explain it, and of course as to what Chevening is looking for. I'd like to end it there. Thank you for listening. I'm happy to do this again. Over to you, Cynthia Kimola. I'll stop sharing my screen now.
Thank you so much, Jane and Patience, for those insightful remarks on the 2 essays that are required, the leadership essay, and Patience has tackled the networking essay. And then now, the third one is, why do you want to study in the UK? And I think this is the most exciting essay, because it is all up to you in your hands to actually tell the committee, like, pick me, this is what I want to do in the UK. So let me introduce myself. My name is Cynthia Kimola. And just as the previous ladies have said, I'm also a journalist and a PR practitioner, and I'm also adding digital strategist there because I studied digital journalism in the UK. And currently now I'm working as a PR and communications officer at Knight Frank, Kenya. And I help upcoming scholars as well with Chevening tips on my YouTube channel and my podcast. I'll be able to put a link in the chat window so that you can go and see it. And yeah, subscribe to it as well. So the question, why do you want to study in the UK? Chevening, I think, are quite generous because they let you pick whatever subject you want to go and study. There are some scholarships which, limit you to certain things, but the Chevening Scholarship lets you pick whatever courses you want, whatever university you want, as long as they meet certain eligibility and criteria that are stated in the Chevening website. So the question for the essay is usually outline why you have selected your chosen 3 university courses and explain how this relates to your previous academic or professional experience and your plans for the future. So I've highlighted those ones in yellow because there are 3 things that you need to answer in this one essay. The why, the courses, the how that course you're choosing relates to your professional experience, and also why those courses or how they're going to help you in future. So let me now move on to the next one. So most or the popular things we know about the UK and why people want to go and study in the UK is because they say the UK has the best um, what do you call it, higher education. They have the best universities, but there are also some other reasons that people forget to include, which are also important, and they are clearly stated also on the Chevening website. But I also just want to help you touch on them so that you can be able to put them in there, because you need to show that Chevening is not all about academics. They also are big about the UK culture and life, and they want to know if you've done some background research on that. Let's start with the academics bit. Most of the people usually, as I stated, they say they want to go study in the UK because it has the best universities, and then they'll go ahead and rank all the rankings. They'll state all the rankings. They are the best in I want to go to study, let's say, in Cardiff because they're the best in communication. They lead in the QS ranking, the Guardian University ranking, Times University rankings, and then they stop at that. They don't know what else to include. So I'm just here to help you with some other tips that you can be able to insert. So as I mentioned, I studied digital journalism at the University of Strathclyde. It's in Glasgow in Scotland. For me, I really wanted to be in Scotland because I don't know. Ever since I heard about Scotland and everything else, I just wanted to be there because I also wanted to. I love traveling and the outdoors, and Scotland gives me a mixture of both. And Glasgow is the biggest city in Scotland, so you were able to get a mixture of both. And then I chose to study media campaigning and social change at the University of Westminster. And then there was culture and communication at the University of Liverpool, because you're told to state 3 universities. So be aware that you need to state them. Even though you have that one particular one that you want to go for, state all 3 universities. And then the thing is, now we're going into the why. Why do you want to study those courses in those universities? Let's start with the first approach, the academic. So, for example, now the University of Strathclyde, where I was at, in this essay, you really need to mention why that university, why that course, and what do you want to gain from it. So, for example, for me, the University of Strathclyde, I like their course, the digital journalism course, because they had this one module about entrepreneurial journalism that I really, really wanted to get my hands on, because it was going to employ technology and also show me new and enhanced ways of news gathering, and how I, as a journalist and independent person, can be able to make money online or generate some form of income through my storytelling abilities. So you see, when I'm expounding in the essay, telling the committee why I want to study this particular course, what you can do, go to the website of the university you want to be in and look at how they explain the course, and then try and pick out something here and there. Maybe you can talk about the lecturer or the head of department who heads that particular course is one of maybe the authors who wrote the study guide that all the universities are using, and you want to be under their tutelage. You can also bring in and talk about maybe the university has placement opportunities or internship opportunities that you would want to experience. For example, us at Strathclyde, we could be placed at the BBC because we had BBC Scotland. So that's something that I was also able to include in my essay as well. The other thing, because the Chevening committee always want to see if clearly you have given clear reasons and you have stated it in 3 distinct paragraphs. Like, for example, Patience has shown us in her example that you need to kind of like arrange it in different paragraphs. So the first will be the introduction. So state, I want to go and study PR and journalism, digital marketing, because I can see that technology is now taking over. It's disrupted the setup of media houses, and I want to be at the forefront and knowing how to utilize this. And then now you start your first paragraph with the first university and the course in particular that you want to go and study, followed by the second university and the course and the reasons why you want to study that, the third one, and also now the fourth reason as well. So now we've touched on the academics. So once you've done all the academic reasons, there are also these other bonus tips that are titled curiosity and fun that you can also include in why you want to go and study in the UK. So let's say you really, really love football and you know the UK is home for the English Premier League. So this is something that you can include there and say, hey, I really want to study in the UK because my team, Manchester United, is based there, and I'd really want to have a stadium tour and go around and just be there when watching a live match. You can also talk about some sightseeing things that you've always wanted to go and do. Maybe there's the Edinburgh Castle, the Westminster Castle, all those things, Windsor. You can mention all that. And also talk about arts and entertainment, because we know that the UK is the home for huge film and fashion shows that take place there. And also a fun fact, there's in my cohort, there's a guy called Peter. He studied entertainment and film, and he was actually able to be at the premiere. I think it was the Black Panther or something, and he was able to do that. So you can actually try and also include some fun examples, because it's about the UK culture as well. It's not just academics. So also try and include that as well. And for these students who come from universities or countries where they don't speak English, you can also include that I would want to study in the UK because it's a chance for me to be around English speakers from diverse places, diverse cultures, and I'll be able to improve my English as well. You can talk about maybe you want to visit different places you've only read about in books or you've watched in films, like maybe the London Bridge. You want to go and visit the hometown of Charles Dickens in Kent. That's something that you can also be able to include as well. So let me now go into like the nitty gritty of what are some of the things in the courses that you can actually talk about. You can talk about, as I mentioned, the lecturers who are industry experts in your field. You can mention them. You can talk about maybe some certain accreditations that the courses have, which will be an add-on to you. I know in the UK, there's the University of Cardiff, where Patience is, and also University of Stirling, and these two have the CIPR accreditation. So you can say that even though I'm going to get my academic course and my academic credentials there, the add-on or a plus will be getting this worldwide known accreditation in PR. And this is going to help me to actually stand out when I come back to the country. And then you can mention about things about how you're going to upskill yourself. You're going to get maybe research and analytical skills that are going to help you stand out in the industry when you come back. Because remember, Chevening wants you to show value that you're going to come back into the country and share your networks, share your skills, and try and help other people as well, and also the country improve in the different subject areas that you're going to study in. So try and relate your studies with your future plans as well. So for example, I said like I'm going to study digital journalism and I'm going to gain data journalism skills, which will be critical for effective storytelling when I come back to the country and I'm posted maybe with a certain company, ensuring that I am efficient and factual and also innovative in the communication that I give out. So just ensure that, yes, go to the websites of the universities, look at the institution, the city they're in, you can talk about that, the course, the department, the lecturers, but also remember to kind of also include some of the fun reasons and also some of these reasons which are going to show that you're actually interested in learning about the UK culture, mingling with the people, talking also about the networks that you're going to get through the university and also through the other Chevening scholars that you're going to interact with. And as I mentioned as well, I really want to direct you to go to the Chevening website. This is your north, your true north. You should always go back there because they update the website with critical information. And there's this document here, the Reading Committee Feedback for Chevening Applicants. It shows you step by step some of the things that they think are wrong that some applicants included, and that's why they were not chosen. And also they talk about the strong points that the successful applicants were able to include in their essays, and they were thus able to be selected. And yeah, you can continue with this conversation by following me on my YouTube channel and also my podcast. I share tips and I interview Chevening scholars as well, telling us about their tips in detail, and also just being able to give you tips and guidance on how to perfectly craft a winning application. And I guess that will be the end of my presentation. Please feel free to put in any questions you have on the chat box there. And yeah, we'll be able to answer them when we get to the Q&A section. So thank you.
Wow. Amazing. Thank you so much, Cynthia Kimola, for sharing your experience. That has been really fantastic. And I'm sure, thank you for giving the understanding that it's not just about studies. One of my lecturers in Cardiff came to class when we were almost receiving our results for first semester and said, I know most of you are looking at your results and probably are wondering, am I doing the right thing? And said, if you're getting anything between 40 and 50, you're somewhere, you just need to pull your socks. But if you're getting something between 50 and 60, you're doing really well. If you're getting something between 60 and 70, you're an excellent material. I don't expect any of you to get over 80. I mean, it's tough really getting an 80. I struggle to get an 80 and the A starts from 70. So I'm happy to bring home some A's, but I can't promise that I brought all A's. And then he said, the thing that I want you to remember is I want you to have a wholesome experience, not just about academics. I want you to go home and then 1 year after your stay at home, you're just looking for a chance to come back to Cardiff because you miss Cardiff as a place. So try and ensure that you balance your studies, but do more so to just try and see how you can make use of experience in Cardiff. So I like that. So thank you for telling us about that. And football, I know Halima is really looking forward to coming to the UK so that she can try and visit some of those places and the football fans. Maybe she can see some of them. But now we give a chance to Stella and Ritu to take us through the last question about your career plans. I'm sure, Stella, you probably tell us what your plans are post your 1 year in the UK, because that's exactly what they're looking for. As Jen had said, if you have plans to come to the UK and stay here, Chevening is not for you, because Chevening are looking for people who just come and study and then go and help the countries back at home. So Stella, maybe take us through that. Over to you now.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Patience. Thank you, Jane and Cynthia. I think one of the most interesting things about Chevening is that you meet like-minded global thinkers. And as you can see from the speakers, there's so much to learn from each other, even as we share useful tips for the application. My name is Stella Nderito. I am going to be studying, let me just share the screen as I introduce myself. I will be studying politics and public policy at Cardiff University. And why did I choose Cardiff? I chose Cardiff because I was doing my research, because one of the things, as Cynthia said, is that you have to research about the schools. I find Cardiff to be the home of media and communication, and my undergraduate was in political science and communication. And as much as I work mostly in governance, I still wanted to be in an environment where I'm interacting a lot with communication experts. And I also knew somebody there, and I'm happy to take over her place when I land in Cardiff next week. And I thought it's good for me to give that background. And we'll be talking about the post-study career plan essay. So the first thing I'll say is believe in yourself. This application process requires you to just believe in yourself. because it's not easy. It's very competitive. And sometimes you'll ask yourself, am I deserving? Will I make it, like Patience was saying? So please believe in yourself. There are moments where you'll doubt yourself, but then keep talking to people who are also applying and people who've applied before. But bottom line, you must believe in yourself. And I shared this photo because I was looking forward to take this pic. I kept seeing people, Chevening scholars, taking this photo, and I said, I have to start visualizing it and having it in my mind, because you have to live the process. It's a journey of faith. As you apply, as you wait for the feedback on whether you're going for the interview or it's a regret, it's just a journey of faith. So believe in yourself as you apply. Know that you're deserving, know that you can do it, and that we are the ones who've been waiting for. So the question on the post-study career plan is, Chevening is looking for individuals who have a clear post-study career plan. Please outline your immediate plans upon returning home and your longer-term career goals. You may wish to consider how this relates to what the UK government is doing in your country. And you have an option of minimum 100 words and maximum 500 words. So I think for me, what I realized is the biggest thing that Chevening wants to see is, how ambitious are you, and are you realistic? And you have to be very, very strategic. So yes, you can be ambitious, but is it achievable? Is it specific, and what timelines do you have? And the first thing I think that is so important is that you have to thoroughly do your research. You have to research. As much as we're giving you tips, you have to go to the website and read, understand what UK work in Kenya is. And one of the places that I went to, one of the sources that really helped me was UK in Kenya, especially the Twitter handle, because it has a lot of links so that you can read about what UK is doing in Kenya. And the other one is DFID in Kenya and the UK Africa Investment Summit that happened early this year. It really, really gives a lot of information on what the focus is currently. Yeah. And then the second one is, you have to understand a challenge in Kenya right now, a challenge in your country, and what are some of the key opportunities that you identify as contributing factors to the solution that you have identified. Allow me, I wanted to share what I wrote so that you have an idea. I know that we have different courses that we want to pursue, but then probably just reading what I had in my introduction paragraph will give you an idea as you create your essay. So, like I said, my work experience has been in governance, and I did run a project on devolution for 2 years. So for me, my application was about governance, women in the devolution process, and the opportunities that I see based on devolution. And so my first paragraph read, Kenya has numerous gaps in gender inclusion-related matters, which include gender-based violence, limited access to financial capital, and unequal access to education by girls and women compared to men. Although devolution was intended to close these gaps by decentralizing services to bring them closer to citizens, there still exist barriers to access to government services in these areas. On one hand, ineffective public service delivery is owed to lack of technical capacity, mostly in the counties. And on the other hand, corruption has robbed Kenyans of basic services funded by their hard-earned money. In addition, Kenya suffers a culture of lawlessness where violators of the law go unpunished, hence taking away the dignity of citizens. First, I have to say, when you read about UK work in Kenya, you know that they really support any work that is targeted towards ending corruption in the country. They truly support devolution and gender-based violence against women. So having that background, and it's actually related to what I used to do previously, I knew that that was going to be a catch. So make sure that you're very strategic in your introduction paragraph. We say in communication that if I read the first two statements of your work and it's not interesting, I just flip the next one. So be very, very strategic in your first paragraph. And then the next tip would be break down your career plans into short, medium, and long-term plans. So be very specific on what you want to do. Soon as you get to your back to Kenya, because you have to come back. And yes, Jane, Patience, and Cynthia, I'll come back. I want to come back. So yeah, soon as you get back to Kenya, what will you do? What's your immediate plan upon return? And in my essay, I wrote, upon completing my master's in public policy in 2021, I will mostly spend my next 6 months building the capacity of members at Dada Power Initiative by sharing my key takeaways on best practices from the UK. So I run an initiative called Dada Power in Murang'a County. We work with teenage girls and young women to build their capacity in socioeconomic and political advancement. And so for me, it was very clear that when I come back, before I get a job, I want to first build the capacity of our organization amongst our members when it comes to the different programs that we run. And I wrote, focus to mostly be on designing social mechanisms for reporting and tackling gender-based violence and economic empowerment for women in rural areas. And like I said, you have to be very specific. For me, it's very clear. I want to work on empowerment opportunities for women in rural areas. So be very, very strategic and be very, very specific in your essay. And then the next one would be the medium-term plan. So what happens 6 months after you're done, after you're back to Kenya, or after 1 year. And I wrote in my essay, between October 2021 to August 2022, I will volunteer my time and resources as part of the strategy for my political party and as senatorial candidate in my home county as a strategic way of positioning myself and lobbying for a nominative post in representing youth or women. Should I not get a nominative post, I will lobby and apply for an opportunity to work with the Council of Governors as a policy analyst to contribute to policy design work by building the capacity of all the 47 counties and tracking progress of all policy-driven interventions and reviewing them to ensure accountability and value for taxpayers' money. This will go a long way in enhancing accountability in devolution, which is one of the areas that is supported by the UK government. So again, I was very strategic. I knew where I want to go and where I want to work. And one of them is the Council of Governors, and my course is in politics and public policy. So be very, very specific on where you want to be as your medium-term plan. I hope that helps. And then finally, on the long-term plan, again, in future, what do you want to be? Make sure that it's very clear and it's very, very realistic. And on my essay, I wrote, on the long-term plan, I have political ambitions, starting with Member of Parliament, Kiharu constituency in 2027, and to sit in the parliamentary committee in charge of education. This is because I am interested in education reforms as a gender equalizer, mostly on equitable access to schools by girls in the rural areas. So be very, very ambitious. Don't limit yourself, but also be very, very realistic. And because Chevening wants you to go gain capacity and experience and learn from your networks on best practices, they also want to see what will you do when you come back based on what you've achieved in your education and in your networks. How will you use the skills that you need to come back and impact on your society and the whole country? So even the networks that you'll pursue after that, how will you use them? How strategic are you in using the skills that you gain? And then the fourth tip would be ensure your key issues in this essay are linked to those in the leadership and networking essays. And same, I think, to studying in the UK. All these issues have to be linked so that then they see how is your journey going to be and how has your journey been in the past. So the last two paragraphs in my essays read, pursuing a master's in politics and public policy will build my expertise in designing, implementing, evaluating, and learning from county, national, regional, and international policies that address access to government services by citizens, mostly from low-income households. Since being part of the Chevening community will give me a broader context of working policies that touch on access to services, I will borrow from best practices in other countries by consulting with fellow Chevening scholars and alumni and apply them to suit Kenya's context. As you can see, I've actually used what I wrote in my networking essay to build up on this essay. And then finally, of course, you'll end your essay with something that speaks to why you still need this scholarship. So I wrote, pursuing a master's in politics and public policy in the UK will open opportunities for me to implement global ideas in Kenya's local communities that will go a long way in eradicating poverty among most households. As a result, more women and girls will realize their full potential and become drivers of sustainable development. And if you read the DFID website and even the UK Africa Summit, you see the issue of sustainable development is quite emphasized. So it's a key area that the UK government and the UK people, or those who support Chevening, are very, very keen on. So again, you have to be very, very strategic. Those are the tips I would give on the essays. The essay on post-study career plan. Again, remember to be very, very specific. Be ambitious. Don't dream small. Don't dim your light, yeah, but also be very, very realistic. Is it achievable? And what will you do immediately after coming back? What's your medium-term plan and what's your long-term plan? So that's it. And I'd like to end with my favorite quote, which is, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You're a child of God. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. So don't dim your light. Yeah, don't think that you're undeserving. You're very, very deserving. Believe in yourself, and all the best in your Chevening application. If you need help, feel free to reach out. Thank you.
Wow, fantastic. Stella,
Wow.
well done. This is really good.
Great. Yes.
Yeah, this is well thought through, well mapped, with a clear ambition. Now that you've said this in public, we're going to hold you accountable. We're waiting to see you become the member of parliament in Kihara constituency. I'm looking forward to that. We will come as women, blessing our, rallying behind you. I mean, young girls like you really inspire me. You make me yearn for, to go back a few years back and then see if I could really be ambitious as you are now. But no love lost. When you do it, I'm happy for you, and you really, really inspire and encourage me. Well done. Thank you. We're looking forward to experiencing Cardiff. And so Jen Gitau and I and you, maybe we should form a small alumni chapter for Cardiffians.
Yes, I think so. There are actually quite a number of Cardiff people around here.
Yeah.
We should.
Okay, so the thing that I picked from you, and of course I like your last sentence where you say more women and girls will realize their full potential and become drivers of sustainable development. That even if I was going to mark your essays, I will say this is a girl I want to empower. So I'm happy that they looked at that and they said, there we go, we have another women empowerment champion there. Let's give her this opportunity to do what she wants to do. And then don't dim your light. Fantastic quote at the end. So well done. This is really good. Over to you, Esther Carago.
Wow, that was so powerful. Gosh, Stella, Jane, Patience, Cynthia, thank you. We can't thank you enough for even just taking the time to take us through this. And I'm hoping now more people are confident about the application. Now it feels doable now, now that you've shared the tips with us. So I think we'll go straight to the Q&A. There are a few questions on the Q&A, and you can address them as they come. So I'll just read out and then see who will take what. Oh, somebody asks, hello, Patience, do you mind sharing essays with me on email? And she's shared the email address there for you to share your essay with her, if you don't mind.
So let me say, so this year I'm not sharing my essays with anyone, because last year I shared my essays with a number of people, and I keep imagining that everyone is probably duplicating what I wrote or maybe writing in the same manner. And so the whole idea, as I said, own your story. It has to be your story. So it's easier for you to craft your story in your own way. It's easier for you to write your story in your own understanding. So all I say, the tips that I shared here will be tips that will be able to work for you. So think about all your networking, write them. And I know maybe I should be answering this question that someone has said. While you're there, just a second. Somebody said, let me look for it if I can see it, and say it with patience. You seem more connected. What will happen for some of us who I can't see it.
Okay, on the chat, I saw that.
Okay, you saw it, right?
Yeah, well, somebody was saying they feel that you're more well connected than them, and they're just wondering how to go. Yeah, Patience, I love that approach of listing your networks and sharing. But somebody else was just feeling like you have all the networks and they feel like they have lesser networks. How do they go about that networking thing?
Well, my response to you is list all networks. It doesn't have to be. I mean, if you don't have professional, of course, I'm of age. I am a bit old if you compare myself with Stella, so she might not have as many, or people who are leaving school right now. I have about 14 years experience, so it's really understandable that I will have. Stella, don't laugh, it's the reality. Reality goes ground. I've been here longer. So if you don't have, I mean, you just left school, your alumni chapter in your school, you're a graduate. That already is a network. Your church, if you go to a church and probably you're a member of a specific church, that too. Even within these groups, as you were saying, most likely you're a member of a given WhatsApp that is professional group. Use those ones. So list all of them, as many as they could be, and then now finally start, eliminating this one. Maybe it doesn't work or it doesn't need. But even the group the people that you mentor. So for example, for me, was a vibrant mentorship group that I have with my young mentees like Stella. At this point, and let me just say Stella is one of my mentees. So it's a platform that I can easily use to explain that I will come back and I will share my experience with some of my mentees, because they already have a cohort that I mentor. So use those as your experiences. Just write as many networks wherever you are, even if it means you having your own channel. And that's why I keep saying blogging is an easiest thing to do. Everyone can do it. Everyone can own a blog with free of charge. You can get it if you don't want to buy your own domain. So try and think of, how do I create my networks? Networking actually is a skill on its own. Okay, so try and just think of all the network places that you are in, or the people that you interact with, whether it's in school, whether it's in PRSK. And if you are a member of in media and communications, for sure, you need to be a member of AMEC. You need to be a member of PRSK. You need to be a member of CIPR if you're doing chartered, international public relations. So think about all those professional groupings. They will give you your networks that you're looking for. So I've answered, I think, those two questions. So I'm not sharing my essays anymore now this year, but I will just guide people. So write your essay. I'll be happy to look at it when you're done.
Okay, great. Someone else asked, is there an age limit on the applicants?
No.
No.
You can apply. That's a good thing about Chevening. They don't discriminate on age. There's a lady, I think, from Ghana. She's a retired teacher. Cameroon.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's in her 60s, I think.
She's 63 years old for this year.
Yep. So you're not discriminated on age, gender. Go ahead and apply. It's your essays that are going to make you stand out. And hopefully the way we have shared the tips here, you'll be able to craft something which is winning application that is going to make you stand out as well. Like, you see, even after Stella has read hers, you just feel like, wow, she's deserving. She had to get it. So it's just how you express yourself. So go ahead.
And I would like to say, I know for women, most of the time, okay, of course, my experience will always be about women. Most of the time, women look at themselves and say, but who am I going to leave my kids with, Patience? I've had those questions that people have approached me to say, and I've even volunteered to say, I could be an auntie for hire. So if you have babies and you're thinking of going to school and your babies don't have someone to live, bring them with me. When I'm finally back home, I would love to have them in the house and I'll check there. 1 year really runs very fast. It's only 12 months. But think about your sisters, think about your family support group, and let them know from the word go when you're applying for this. I'm interested in going to the UK during for the next maybe 1 year. I'm going to apply for Chevening, and should I get, please, I need a volunteer who is going to take care of my household, my kids. I want them to be, because you're really going to empower yourself, and eventually you're coming back to help your family. So I believe if you have a husband, he's 1 year to be able to take care of the kids. If you have your siblings, your grandmother, they have their grandmother, this is the time they should step in and help you. So really don't look for all those obstacles that will make you not do this. Try and see what are some of the things how do I overcome these obstacles? How do I do the same thing, but how do I achieve this? Okay, so there are many options. The moment you feel that you have the drive, you'll be able to do this.
Okay. Someone else asked, hello, does it sponsor medical course degrees?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Okay.
My housemate, Dr. Pamela Njuguna, was a doctor in Kenya, and then of course she came here to pursue her dermatology course. So yes, it does. And there are a number of doctors that I met as well within the same cohort.
And you can go and study anything
in the alumni group.
Yeah, true that.
Yeah, we have several in the alumni group. And in relation to that, someone else had also asked whether it sponsors procurement courses. Yes, there's no discrimination in any course. So long as you can express yourself and say how you see yourself become a leader using what you will have gained, there is no discrimination on any ground. It is simply you expressing yourself. Okay?
Okay, great. How long does it take to get the unconditional offer?
So the unconditional offer, you usually apply this to your university. So it depends with you and the certain criteria that the university has set in place. So the difference between a conditional and unconditional offer is just that unconditional offer is like, come on, we want you in our university, no conditions, come on board, this is the admission letter. Well, the conditional offer, maybe you have to do an English test, or sometimes you need to pay a deposit. So from the time you apply to the time you get your admission letter, it depends with the school and how many they get. So it can be maybe a few weeks, 2 weeks to even a month. So with the Chevening Scholarship, they want you to get an unconditional offer. So it is on you to try and either to challenge the admissions office. If they start telling you maybe you have to do an English test, you can tell them, no, I come from an English speaking country. I studied all through in English. So if you need proof of transcript, this is something that I can show. But the thing is, apply to 3 or more universities so that if you get into that conditional and conditional letter issue, at least you can pick from another one that has already given you an unconditional offer. So anywhere from 2 weeks to a month, depending on the school and the admissions load.
Okay, and I guess that adds up to somebody else who asked, what if you already have an unconditional offer? Do you still apply to other universities?
Yes, you can. The thing is, and Stella, you can also come in here because I was like 2 years back, so we don't know how it's come now. But it can be this way. You can either maybe have applied to a university, got the unconditional offer, but didn't get the scholarship. So you can go to the admissions office and defer. So tell them, I don't have funding for now. Please push it to the next year. So you already have it. And then with your unconditional offer for one university, at least have one unconditional offer. But I always say be on the safe side. If you can get 2 or 3 or all 3, that works. Because during my cohort, there was one person who missed a chance because the university stopped offering that course. And you see, they already had an unconditional offer for that particular course and they hadn't looked for anything else. So unfortunately, since the committee or the Chevening, the guys who are giving the funds were like, okay, we have your unconditional offer, but the university is not doing it. They are not doing the course anymore. So always be on the safe side. Try and get at least 2 or 3 unconditional letters with you. And then now, first of all, apply to the scholarship and then now start chasing the unconditional offers. So Stella, maybe you can add that, anything to that?
Yeah, I was going to say advice, apply to 3 universities. You'd rather have 3 than just 1. And then you're going to have a bit of challenges with the English test. I saw that this time. Chevening did waiver the English test, but then other universities did not. Like Cardiff removed the English test for me. So to be safe, just have the 3. It doesn't have to have the 3. And then just to add another thing on that question of the universities, I've seen so many applicants ask, should I first have a conditional offer before I apply for Chevening? No, please, first finish with your essays, beat the deadline, and then after that, you can start your application. Yeah. But don't fail to, please first beat the Chevening deadline, yeah.
And then maybe what I will answer is, what I will add from that is the fact that there is a question that it asks you, do you have any conditional, do you have a university admission letter or something within the application? I mean, just be sincere and say no, but you're in the process, because that's exactly what I did for me. I applied for the Chevening and ensured that I have submitted my Chevening application, and then I went to the phase 2 for me, which was to start making the application for universities. And as she says, there's no harm even in applying for 5. Yeah. Because there are many other universities that are probably offering the same courses. So for me, it was, I really want to go to Cardiff, yes, but I applied to Birmingham University. I think I applied to Salford. I think I applied to, I can't remember, but I applied to 5 universities. And somehow I got acceptance for all of them. But then I knew my number 1 was Cardiff. And then, of course, Cardiff said, oh, you don't even have to do because of the submissions that I had made. They also say they didn't need me to do the English test. So I was like, oh, I'm going to go with Cardiff. I don't need to do English test. Though, remember, you will still need to do English test based on for Chevening. They will want you to do English test at some point. The cohort for this year.
Sessions.
Yeah, but it's for this year. That's why it's explaining that the cohort for this year were lucky because of COVID. Most of the English centers were closed, and that's why they couldn't do the English test. But it might not be the same thing next year. They might go back to you doing the English test. So I don't know what changes, but this time I think it was because of COVID. That's why it changed that they didn't have to do the English test.
Yeah. But now going forward, it's no longer going to be there. So at least
for
the
Chevening, right?
for Chevening,
that's nice.
and above. So the hurdle is try, if they get the conditional offer, they insist on English, first of all, try and challenge them. And then if they keep on insisting, apply to the other universities. And then if there's no other way out, you'll have to do the English test.
Okay. Another question, how do you balance your passion in two fields when you're writing the essays? This, for instance, this person, Cynthia, said she has a background in law and communication.
How do they balance what there?
How do they balance when they're writing their essay? How do they balance their passion? And these are two fields, law and communication.
Okay, so then it depends on what they really want to go and study. Then, so the choice of what to include in the essays will be guided with what they want to study. Maybe they want to do public policy, like Stella, they can be able to find a merger, and then she'll be able to talk about maybe some of the advocacy she's done through communication, and maybe some of the legal work she's been able to tackle as well. But the passion bit as well, you need to understand as well, if you're going to, it also depends on the essay she's talking about, because she hasn't mentioned which one, if it's networking, study in the UK, or career plan essay. But for me, I would think, as Patience listed before, try and list all the things you've been able to do, and then try and pick out which ones are the most influential or impactful, and then try and see, okay, where can I marry my communication and my law passion and be able to ensure that I write a winning essay. I guess the other panelists can assist here as well, answering the question.
I think that is also where you really want to show exactly who you are and what your interests are. We say that every leader is a communicator. So you need to be able to demonstrate that you're committed to communication as a leader, and you're also committed to communication as a field. But what is it that you really want to do finally? Is it law? Is it communications? Just show that both will serve your interests. But what are you going to study? What you need to be clear about is, I have this interest and I have this experience, but I am going to study this because of this and this reason. Of course, it must be tied to your future.
Okay. Cynthia asks, is it easy for medical practitioners to get Chevening Scholarship? I've noted most of the past scholars are journalists. If you're referring to the ones in this platform, it's because this has been organized by the network of media and PR women. That's why you're seeing all of them, having an inclination towards media and communication. But I think Jane had answered that. She said, the network, there are so many other doctors, medical doctors, who have gone through the Chevening Scholarship, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So Cynthia, don't worry. Okay,
including agriculture as well, So
yeah.
It could be any field, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's an anonymous attendee here who said they joined late, but they want to ask, is it possible to say that their immediate post-return plan is to look for a job, or will that make them look stupid? Now that you have to come back home and serve your community. I don't know if looking for a job sounds like serving the community.
I think it's how you... Okay, good.
Okay, of course, you need a job when you come back, but please be strategic, yeah? Yeah, they know you need a job, but then you don't need to write that you need a job. I would like to work for Council of Governors, but then I haven't written that I will look for a job. Yeah, so they want to see how ambitious you are and just the strategic places that you're looking at. They know you need a job, but please don't try to look for a job.
It's just, looking for a job, of course it is. Even for me, I'm looking for a job now. But the whole idea is how you craft it in your essay.
Yeah.
Where you're looking for that job. So if you're looking for a job, like Stella says, for me, I'm very clear that I would like to work for the government of Kenya. So I would say I would love to give my 1 year to government of Kenya to be able to help in, public relations and blah, 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 or in human rights. So it's just it's how you craft your wording. So yes, everyone is looking for a job. Of course, that's really obvious. But I'm not going to write, I'll come back and look for a job.
Yeah. Okay. There's somebody who asks, how is the experience being Black, more so being a Muslim? I don't know if any of you have the experience of being a Muslim, but just share your experience being Black. I don't know how it was for you, Jane, Patience, Cynthia. Stella is just about to get there.
I was there some 20 something years back. 96 is about 24, 25 years back. And Cardiff was a place where I did not feel any of those things. I guess being a smaller city, well, smaller by UK standards, certainly it's bigger than Nairobi, but it's very small by UK standards, I think. Capital of Wales. I did not experience that. And I guess London is fairly cosmopolitan. But once in a while, you did feel that in London. However, I would not want to go by my experience, given that in the recent past, we have had all this outpouring of Black Lives Matter. I would imagine that has changed the world a lot. And I guess none of us is prepared for that. So perhaps Stella would be in a better position to tell us when she gets there. Oh yeah, Patience has just come. She lived through life, Black Lives Matter. So perhaps Patience is really the very best person to answer that question on what the impact has been of Black Lives Matter in the UK.
Okay, so, I keep saying my experience, this is my first time out of my country for a longer time. I was in Norway in the year 2010, 2011. And that time I felt a bit fresh because then I used to see myself really Black, because Norway also, in Kristiansand, there are not as many Blacks as they are maybe in Cardiff now. And so that time I'm very conscious about being Black. And then over the years, I've really interacted with a lot of Mzungus along the way. And so I want to believe that my Black skin is not a limitation, is not a disability. So I never walked around feeling like I'm Black. I just walked around feeling like I'm a human being. And of course, with my background in human rights now, I know all lives matter. It doesn't matter whether you're Black or white. And I kept telling myself, I am here because God made it possible for me to be here at this particular point. I am not looking at myself as a Black person or less a human being for any reason. No. So I wasn't very conscious about feeling like I was Black. So I think it has everything to do with you as a person, feeling confident in yourself as you walk with your head held high, knowing that you are at that very moment because it was possible for you to be at that very moment and you deserve to be there at that moment. So I was very happy that when we were doing the Black Lives Matter demonstrations, a lot of the whites came on board and really rallied through with all the Black people. And in Cardiff, there were demonstrations almost for a whole week. So I want to believe that now I think all over the world, it's a bit open. People are really embracing different races and very open. But of course, the challenges of being Black are alive. But also, it has to do with you as a person. So that's what I keep telling people. Come here, Stella, feeling very confident in your skin and you're Black, you're beautiful, you deserve everything. And so I think that's really my experience. I have really not felt that I've been discriminated against for being Black. No, I'm not going to cook examples or rather to cook stories. Maybe Cynthia has something to say.
Yeah, mine is the same. I was in Scotland, so the ratio of Black to white was a bit kiasi. But that was 2018. But now when I left in 2020, when I came back, you were walking every corner and you could see a Black person. And the UK is quite diverse. So the spotlight won't be on you as a Black person. You'll see so many Indians, so many Chinese. So it's you also, as Patience has said, remember who you are, that you're deserving to be there. And you also have an opinion, a point to make. So even when people are in class and all that, also voice your opinion, answer, share something. It's not that always the lecture maybe might be saying, in Africa, they don't have internet access. You'll be like, listen, we have Safaricom. We have home internet. So it's not about that, because they also just are steeped in the same narrative most of the time. But I didn't experience that. But if you have a chance to correct, go ahead and correct. And also interact with people. Teach them how to make chapati, teach them this is ugali and all that, and you'll be able to also have some kind of cultural exchange while you're there. So you can survive anywhere. And I call London Nairobi on steroids. Like it's fast-paced, super fast-paced, and you're seeing people from everywhere, just like here in Nairobi. It's a very big cosmopolitan. So you're going to enjoy it. So don't be afraid.
Yeah, and then there's always something new for you to share with them. Most of them have never been to Africa, have never been to Kenya. And I remember our first class when we were introducing ourselves in one of the class for global communication. The lecturer asked us to introduce ourselves in a way that the students will remember us. And for me, I said, I'm going to be representing my country, Kenya, and not Africa, because Kenya is only one of the bigger continents in Africa. So don't confuse Kenya to be Africa. When you hear my experiences, they will be based as Kenyan. So always treat me as a Kenyan and not representing the entire Africa, because there's always an assumption that, Kenya is Africa or Africa is Kenya, so there's always something that you need to try and teach them, or as you learn from them, they're also learning from you.
And one experience, maybe for me, this was quite hilarious. Like one time I was asked, like, wow, how is your English so good? And this was a Chinese student. So I was like, we speak English in Kenya. So we have this misconception that we don't know how to speak English. So you're also going to change them and to expose them.
Yeah, and always remember that you are almost representing. You become an ambassador of some sort. So you're really representing your country all the time. And most of the time, even if they don't remember your name, then they always remember that you have your wristband and you're Kenyan. So they always say it's that Kenyan girl. That Kenyan lady. That becomes, and all the time you feel like this tension that you're representing your country. And so, yeah, on it. It's only 1 year that you become an ambassador. You have to really play the role of being an ambassador. That's why my flag is on it. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to combine these three questions. So does one have to have a degree? Is it true you need a minimum of 2 years work experience? And are there any scholarships for PhDs?
Okay, so my first answer before the rest answers is, please don't attempt to deal with Chevening without going to the Chevening website. All those requirements you're asking have actually been asked there. And that's what I keep saying. A lot of the inboxes I have, sometimes they tire me, because I'm always like, you haven't even done your simple research. You haven't even checked what the website for Chevening is. What are they looking for? And that is an assignment you have to do as an individual. They will tell you for sure you will need experience, at least 2 years, whatever it is that, and the experience could be volunteer work. It could be as long as it can amount for the hours that they're looking for. Number two is the fact that, yes, it's for masters. The moment you research about Chevening on your own, you will realize it's not PhD, it's not undergraduate, it's masters. So that's what I'm saying. The first thing assignment to do before you start thinking of, should I be applying for this? Please go and read about Chevening on their website. At least familiarize yourself with it. And then now you can start saying, let me attempt. How do I go about this? Because even for us, imagine when you have about 100 people asking you to review the essays, and then you have somebody asking you, can I apply for a PhD for Chevening? So you're asking yourself, should I spend my time answering to this one, or should I spend my time looking at this one? Maybe the rest can answer what the experience has been.
Yeah, I'd say for me, please read the frequently asked questions. And for me last year, I spent so much time researching, reading that whole Chevening website for me to understand, so that I didn't keep asking patients. So what school do I need to apply to? What do I need to do? I mean, she's answering so many people and I can read for myself. So please be proactive. Chevening is about leadership. It's a leadership scholarship. So please be a leader, take initiative, read widely, do thorough research, and then you can understand. And yes, you need to have a degree, please. Again, if you read, you will see, you will understand. Yeah, but don't apply without reading. You might flop because of that. Another question, Esther, was?
Yeah, there are Chevening scholarships for PhDs.
Oh, no, it's masters.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, please go.
Add my 2 cents to this.
Yeah.
I think it is extremely distressing that we are talking about this level of leadership support, and we ourselves aren't taking the initiative. As Patience has said, some of those are explained on the website, and there are people who fail just because they did not read. I've worked as a university lecturer for a season, and I have actually seen students fail at university at degree level because they didn't read the instructions. You say, give me 3 examples, and somebody gives you 1 example. Now, each example has its own marks. So they have answered their one very well. But if their one is worth 5 marks, that's the maximum that they can get. And if I look at spelling mistakes, they will get 4. There is no way they're going to get 10 marks if the question is worth 3 marks, if the question is worth 5 marks. And I think that is the same approach Chevening has. Read the instructions. And information is so much easier to come by now. It's on the website. In my time, we struggled. We didn't have internet. We didn't have website. We had to go to the British Council Library to look for information. But now you can find information on your phone. So let's begin by being familiar with what there is. The second thing I want to say is one of the culture shocks you get when you get there is that you discover everybody reads. We don't read a lot. So we better start reading. I think for many of us Kenyans, traditional Kenyans, when we do our last exam, we stop reading. Sometimes you don't even see the headlines in newspapers because we don't even look at newspaper website. We are not even asking you to buy the physical newspaper. Just go to the newspaper on the website. We don't do that. So we have a lot of fake news we are peddling around because we're just peddling, I hear, I heard, is it true? We are not taking research seriously. And that is something you will discover that the UK generally takes very seriously. And as a professional, those are things that we really, really should be doing for ourselves. Most of the degrees are research degrees, so you have no choice but to study. You have no choice but to look at multiple sources of information. So yeah, a session like this is supposed to point fingers, give us pointers, and say, go to the Chevening website if you haven't been there, look for this information. I mean, even when they're asking you for your 3 universities that you want to attend, you have a choice of 3. You're supposed to know something about them. So that basically means read something about the 500 universities the UK has and narrow down to the 3 that teach what you want to study. So I think it requires us to take initiative and to ask questions from an informed perspective. Thank you.
Okay. Does having another master's degree affect your chances, especially if your course deviates from the Kenyan master's? So I'm assuming, I don't know, you had a master's degree, let's say, in communication or in media here in Kenya. You want to go and do political something. Does it have any implications?
The first bit would be you can apply for this Chevening Scholarship and do a second master's. That's fine because I have seen people who have done that as well. Now, when you're deviating to go and study something else, it depends with your explanation. Maybe you're going to see, okay, I did political science, but right now in the organization I'm in, the passion I have right now, I feel like I'm more into advocacy and I want to upskill and get maybe communication skills, digital skills, and that's why I want to do it. So it just depends with you and how you're going to explain it and how it's going to relate to what you want to do in future and also your career plan. But also just ensure that it is not too much because there are some skills that you need. Maybe you can't say you want to go and maybe do chemistry because you don't have a background in physics and all that. Then they'll be wondering, like, seriously, what are you going to study? What do you really want to do? So it just seems like you're not in line and you're not in order with what you really want to get out of life. And just as Jen mentioned, it will look like you did not do your research and you still need time to maybe reflect on what you really want to get out of life. But you can apply if you already have a master's. It just depends on how you present yourself in the essays and why you need the second one and the cost.
Yeah, so I did my master's course in Nairobi University in international diplomacy and international relations. My course in Cardiff University is in international public relations and global communication management. So they're kind of related in a way. However, in my application, I really didn't have to mention it anywhere because I used my undergraduates, and what I did when I was in Daystar, I did mass communication and I did a minor in public relations. So what I wanted to enhance was my experience in public relations, because clearly I see myself doing more of public relations and not diplomacy. Maybe I might do a diplomacy at some point when I want to become the ambassador. But for now, I am happy being in communications and public relations. And so in my essay writing, I said I would like to enhance that I have a background in mass media and minor in public relations, but I see a clear path in public relations and global communication management. And therefore, that's the path that I want to take. So all I'm looking for with this course is for me to be able to gain more experience at an international level, to be able to understand how does it feel like to work for an international public relations organization, maybe, or to pursue global communication management. So it depends on what you write in your essays, as Cynthia Kimola has said. So it doesn't, and I know a number of people who've done their masters before. Even in the present cohort, we had, I think, 2 or 3 people with the previous masters before. So yeah, it doesn't, you can have as many masters as you want.
Yeah, and it's a merit thing. It's not about Oishe, they already have a master's. Why are they getting another master's? It's how you are coming on the essays and presenting your case. So you can, guys, it's not about, oh, poverty. I come from a background which is, we need money. I need to get this course so that I can take my family to the next level. If you approach the essays with sob stories, my friend, you're not going to go anywhere. We don't go there and start SOSing, listing problems about Kenya. It's not how you should approach it.
And I think that's the beauty of Chevening. Initially, I said in my essays, as I've said on my blog post for 3rd of August 2020, I put a number of links there. And in my first link, as I said, exactly that. All along, I knew that scholarships were to be of needy students. So I never attempted, because I was like, but I have a job I can save for. But then when I heard about Chevening and they didn't really think of whether you have a job, whether you have money or you're capable or not, I said, okay, I'm going to apply for this one. So it's in the same understanding that they're not thinking of, do you have another master's? No, it's your story. Remember, your story is your building or guiding block. What are you writing there? Does it make sense? And so it's important for you to start writing now. And as I said, ensure that you get a 3rd and a 2nd and a 4th eye, because that is what determines whether you get it or not. And then I know that people keep saying, but he could Joanna, who gets this chance? I want to assure you that Chevening will have nothing of Kujuana, because the marking scheme, the first marking scheme, is actually done in London. So that Mzungu has no idea who Patience is, or Jen Gitau, or Tebiotieno, or Esther Kurago. No, they're just reading from a very independent understanding. We don't know this person. Let's just try and read what have they written. Does it make sense to us? And of course, they have probably been given a marking scheme. I'm imagining if it's an independent recruitment firm, they probably have a clear marking scheme, what they're looking for. So does your story make sense? That's exactly what they're marking. So they have no idea. It's not like ni hapa Kenya, Jen Gita huyu Stella Derishun wa kwetu. Wacha nimeke hapo. No. So ni wewe mwenyewe kujitetea from the beginning to the end. So you have to do that with your essay. What do you write? What is your story? And that's why I keep saying, own your story. Ensure that it makes sense from the beginning to the end.
I put a link about the marking scheme that Patience is talking about.
Okay.
This is just feedback from the reading committee. You can use that to kind of like base if you actually answered it correctly or not. So you'll find the link in the chat.
Cool. Thank you so much for sharing.
Stella, this question was based on your presentation. When writing the essays, is it advisable to outline the way Stella has done, like subtopics in between, or just your own style?
Actually, it didn't have subtopics. It didn't have subtopics. Just that I was preparing for the presentation and I wanted to separate it. But no, it's an essay and it's only 500 words. So you don't even have the luxury of writing. So maybe when you're writing about studying in the UK, Cynthia, I did have subtitles of the university only, because you don't have much. You only have 500 words and you just find yourself squeezing because unajitetea why you need it. So yeah, and you have 500 words, but I didn't have the subtitles in the essay.
It would be prose. Just
prose.
Long thing separated with paragraphs. Intro, paragraphs, conclusion.
Yeah. And then the thing about writing essays, what I keep telling people is probably what I've learned even when I'm writing my essays in class. Write as much as you can and then start editing. So it doesn't matter whether you have 1,000 words. You rather have 1,000 than have 100. Okay? It's easier for you to start when you're writing now, when you're editing, you probably get to 500 in an easier way than when you have 100 and you're looking for 500 words. So write as much as you can, just let it flow and then now start editing.
Okay. There's a question from Rahma. Am I supposed to apply to the universities that are captioned Chevening partner only?
No, you don't have to, but these are like the selected ones that already have partnerships, already have scholars who have gone there, but you don't have to. Like the university I went to was not a Chevening partner, but those who actually go to partner organizations have some little perks or recognitions here and there. For example, the ones like Swansea University, they had like their own dinner, and then they had like, talks from guest lecturers here and there. So it's just like this is a partner, like they recognize Chevening and they want to be partnered with them, but you can go to any university as long as they meet the eligibility requirements, that it's a taught master's, 1 year. So you just go to the website and read that for yourself, but just go ahead and apply to whichever.
Okay. Someone else asked, do we need to share a backstory of my motivation for applying the course, or should I just dive into it and share about the courses?
I'm guessing that's what they need. Motivation is maybe an intro. You can. It just depends with how you are going to approach it. I've read some essays where some people just go straight into it. I want to go and study maybe veterinary, to become a vet. And then they now start listing, this is why. I have noticed in our village, maybe most of the animals die and the farmers lack economic, Just introduce that and then get into your essays. And then there are some people who just get straight to it. I want to go and study this course, this course, this course, and then the conclusion, now they wrap it up with the motivation, like this is why I have chosen it. So it just depends with your style, but I always inform, have an intro, just sipping or teasing why you really want to do that course, and then do your 3 paragraphs with the separate courses, and then a conclusion, and with it. It's easier to read it that way, I feel.
Okay. Does the country you belong to affect your Chevening scholarship chances? Like, I remember, is it Patience who was saying how many Nigerians were there, and then how many vacancies were there for Kenyans? So maybe somebody is thinking, the country they belong has an effect. How many slots are there? I don't know. Answer that.
I think Jen Gitao would be a good person to answer this question, because ideally what the number has been growing over the years. And I know the British High Commission in Kenya has been very key in trying to ensure that they get the number. But of course, it's really equivalent, or rather proportional to the population of a country. So Nigeria, when they have 60 or 60 plus, they have a bigger populace compared to Kenya. So now Kenya, during our cohort, I think we were 32. I think, Stella, this year you are more than that. You're 40.
Yes, we are 40.
Oh,
yeah.
40. Yeah.
So as we were 32, and then Stella they are 40. So next year probably is going to get to 50 or maybe 45. 50. You can see that they're increasing by probably maybe 5 or more. But I know even the ambassador here, SP Sumanoa, has been trying very much to try and see that the number goes higher, both for Chevening, for Commonwealth. So I think there are many conversations that are happening all the places, either with the ambassadors here or with the ambassadors in Kenya, and just trying to ensure where can we increase the numbers. So whether you're Kenyan or Nigeria, wherever you are, it is your essay. What story do you have? Own your story, write a story that is worth getting you the Chevening application scholarship.
Yes, remember this is an investment that the British government makes to the Kenya government, or to the Commonwealth. Actually, I think it's to the entire Commonwealth, and so it depends on many things, including where is their relationship. So as they look for funds, you have had the kind of negotiations taking place at ambassador level. So yes, your country affects in as much as it has relationships with the British government, and also what the level of investment is. I must say that I am impressed. In my days, we were 10. So, yeah, we were 10. And I know that the numbers went up the other day when we were celebrating the 30th anniversary. That was the year that the numbers first went up. There were 10 for a long time. Sometimes there would be 8 if we had people doing very expensive courses like architecture in the year, because there are courses that are more expensive. And so when we had the 30th anniversary, which is about 5 or 6 years back, they increased them. They looked for different partners who could chip in something, and some people got partial scholarships. Some people got tuition only, and they were told fundraise from other sources, and then they started bringing other people on board, other organizations. So that year we had 30, and I think that was the first time that we had 30, and it hasn't gone back since. So that for me is very great. So yes, we hope that those conversations will continue so that we have more and more people that are able to go. And I hope that the applicants are seeing the need to then really be top-notch in how they present themselves. And yes, nobody will say, I know Stella, I know Jane, Patience ni mtu wangu. The most we can do is the sort of thing we are doing now. And it's totally independent how the selection is done. It's how you present yourself. In Kiswahili we say bidii yako ndio itakuokoa. So yeah, just work very hard and make sure that you give your best.
Yeah.